Today on the show, it's Comics Q&A, the show where you send me Qs and I A them. Mary Brooks asked, what would be your ideal Titans lineup? The lineup of the team is not the point of the Titans. You shouldn't be focusing on the lineup of the team. The Titans constantly had members coming and going and leaving and quitting and rejoining, and others quit and started up their own teams. It was a huge selling point for the Titans. So who's your ideal lineup is not a relevant question, because that's not what the Titans is, and that's not what it was supposed to be. Tina Dane asked, when did you first get into comics? Do you write? Do you draw? Do you want to get into comics as a career? If so, how are you preparing to do that? Yes, many questions, but I am so curious. Okay, that was a very big question, but I can answer all of them. I got into comics when I was very young. I learned to read when I was 2.5, so I had to start reading comics when I was about 3. It was a few years after Grant Morrison's run on the Doom Patrol had ended, and those were actually my first comics because a family member had decided they were giving up on reading comics, and they still don't read comics to this day. So they gave me, the youngest member of the family, all of their comics. And later on they found even more comics they didn't want to read, so I got my hands on the Titans. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into comics. I was very, very young, so young I don't really remember them not ever being a part of my life. They're a huge part of my life. And then obviously a little bit later down the line I started reading monthly issues, but I was also very, very young when I started doing that. So the guy at the local comic book shop noticed that I was very, very young and decided that he really wanted to make sure that I would have that spark to keep going in comics. So he gave me a huge discount, and every month he would give me the Impulse comic, the Superboy comic, the Robin comic, and the Young Justice comic when it came out. And then I got a bit older and I started doing a bit of work here and there, and I could afford to buy all the comics that I wanted every month. I do write, and Anthony Horn actually asked how is my comic going. It's going very, very well. I'm still looking for an artist I like because I'm a bit too attached to the script. But you know what, this finding an artist time does give me a chance to kind of edit my script a bit more, maybe work on other scripts which would be a lot easier to find an artist for. So it's not a huge deal. And finally, yes, I do want to go into comics for my career. I do want to write comics, but I would also like to be the next Stan Lee. In terms of writing, there is a huge controversy around Stan Lee, in terms of what did he do, what didn't he do, what was Jack Kirby's work, what was actually Stan Lee's work. But I'm talking about he promoted comics and he became that face for people that don't really read comics. He helped them get into this world of imagination, and I want to do that. I want to be the second coming of that. And I do think it's time that we had a second coming of that. I'm not saying like, oh, Stan Lee is too old to be doing what he's doing, because obviously it's his choice, and if he's doing what he's doing and he's happy, then I don't really care. But there's a lot of movies getting people into comics now, there's a lot of media, but there isn't a friendly face saying, yes, you can come and join, you don't have to just watch the movies. So yes, I just feel like it's time for someone to take Stan Lee's torch and just keep running with it. And I think that person should be me. Kyle Sambira said, if you had a chance to see the Teen Titans on the big screen, what storyline would you like to see produced? And which actors would do a great job in portraying them? No, stop. Just stop there. You don't understand the Titans if you think they should be on the big screen. The main thing about the Titans is that it's about emotions and interactions, and emotions just keep layering and layering and layering, and building and building and building. And that's why it wouldn't work on the big screen. You couldn't compress that into a movie. And in my personal point of view, a vast majority of DC's characters really just don't work in live action anyway. People have this misconception that because Marvel works in live action, DC should also work in live action. And I don't agree with that. The way the Marvel Universe works, in my point of view, is reality plus its own set of laws. The way the DC Universe works is that it's its own reality, it's got its own weight, it's got its own set of laws. It's really got hardly anything to do with our reality. Because the Marvel Universe has somewhat similar rules and limitations to our real-life universe, it can work on the big screen. But because the DC universe really doesn't have any rules or limitations, it just doesn't work on the big screen. And that's just my opinion, it just doesn't work in live action. However, in terms of animation, DC animations are always so much better than Marvel animations. Diego Irate Moreno, I don't care if I'm saying your name wrong because that's what your name is now. What is your opinion on Volume 2 of the Young Avengers, specifically the inclusion of Kid Loki, Miss America, and Nova? I mean, I love the Young Avengers and I love Nova, so I loved the second run of the Young Avengers. I don't care what anyone says, it was great. I mean, I love the Young Avengers as a whole. Recently, I was just browsing through mycomicshop.com and I found like this collected edition of the Young Avengers in hardback, and it has the entire first run in one book and a whole bunch of concept art, and I was like, right, I am buying that, I don't care how expensive it is. So yeah, I love the Young Avengers and everything they do, and I was so happy to see Nova because I really like Nova. He's like one of my favourite characters at the moment. Kadeem Grace asked, I don't know if you've heard this, but Scale is making a Sandman movie for Vertigo's Sandman comic. Do you think this is a risky move? You know, funnily enough, I just said that I don't think many of DC's characters would work in live action, but I think Sandman would work in live action, funnily enough. I think it would probably be badly done because, let's face it, they would probably get someone like Tim Burton in and they would do their whole, I am arty, I am enigma, I am director. And it will just come up looking like a whole vomit of colours and explosions, and it just wouldn't be great. Yeah, remember when Tim Burton used to do stuff like Beetlejuice and used to be good? I know for a long time they were working on a Death, the High Cost of Living movie, and then in 2010 they just cancelled production on that, which I was really sad about. I mean, Death was probably the most relatable character in the Sandman comics, so if they struggle to make a movie about Death, they're going to struggle to make a movie about Sandman. Fact. And guys, a whole bunch of you have been asking about my hair recently, what's going on with my hair. Look, I know it's fading, I know it's getting a little bit on the light side. It's kind of on my head and I style it, so I see it every day. So for all of you that are more worried about my hair than I am, I've just got one thing to say to all of you.
I don't care if you don't like my hair because I know it's amazing. It's super effective!
Okay guys, that is it for today. If you have any questions for next month's comics Q&A, please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe so you can see more comics Q&A. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can make bigger and better videos by hitting that A-list character goal, and subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.